All right. Welcome back. We've been off for a week,
We
but
have.
we are back here for another episode talking some music.
Yes. And I'm gonna say a lot of probably not fan favorite opinions. So this little thing that I got allows me to say those opinions without getting flame, I've decided.
Okay. You've got the torch of Zeus or something there with you to
Yeah, it's
protect you
a
from the crazy fans on the internet.
yeah,
Um
it's a crocodile playing a saxophone on Bourbon Street.
there you
So
go.
I've decided.
So you're saved.
Yes.
Um Well, it's Taylor Swift's drop week. So she just dropped Tortured Poets, whatever's.
Right.
And naturally, we'll be talking Kanye West.
It just seemed right.
Yeah, not necessarily on purpose. It's just the way things fell. This was an episode that we were working on getting ready for, and it just happened to be this week. So,
It, to me,
um,
it was a sign from
yeah, yeah,
everything to do this.
from
It was needed.
from the from the alligator playing the trumpet on
Right.
Bourbon Street,
Exactly.
it told you that we needed to do this.
Right.
So let's let's jump in here. We're going to be ranking each of Kanye's albums. We've reviewed a couple of his more recent stuff. But let's go through and rank these albums. But let's start off by um, prefacing this by saying you have just barely gone through each of his albums, many
Yeah.
of his classics included. Um, I told you my thoughts in terms of artists who have put out extended catalogs, more than 3 or 4 albums. I think he's one of the few that's close to a perfect discography to me. You seemed a little surprised by that. Tell me your feelings.
So, I mean, just because I don't think I was on the same page as you when you said, like, before you explained what you believe is an almost perfect discography.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when you first said it, I was just like, okay, like, hold on. All of these albums aren't like 100%, like there's definitely like things that Kanye could
Yeah,
get better at or this and
sure,
that, more
sure.
more of those picky things. But once you kind of started explaining as um not a trash album, one that is a solid album, but every album has its misses.
Sure.
Then I started to agree, like, okay, yeah, I can agree with that. I would agree with Kanye almost has a perfect discography.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Very cool.
There's only
We're
there's only two projects that I think were booty cheek garbage.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll agree on one of those.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, I think it's best when we do these, just one person goes all the way through. Who do you want to go first?
You can go first. I kind of just let me put mine in order for ranking. It's not quite in
Yeah, yeah,
order.
yeah.
I just have them.
Okay.
So start us off.
Okay. I'll start from the bottom and go worst to best. I did include collab projects on here. If you want to do the same, you don't have to for sure.
Yeah.
I will say I think Vultures by far is his worst project. It's not even really all that close to me.
Yeah.
I think um, there's some redemptive quality to it. Like it has some cool moments here and there, but overall, I do think it's pretty bad. I don't think it's adventurous compared to his other projects. I think it pulls a lot of old, reused styles that he's done before, and it does them less um, charismatically.
Hmm.
And I mean, we kind of reviewed it, so I don't really have all that much to say in addition to what I've already said. I will say, as far as best and worst tracks on the projects here, I think for me, my favorite on this one is Talking. I think on the back half, both Ty Dolla and Kanye sound really good. The Northwest intro is kind of funny and cool.
Yeah.
But back to me with Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs has a good feature, although the song I don't think is all that good. I I will say for the worst, it's probably the title track. I think Vultures is pretty boring, pretty unoriginal,
Mhm.
uninspired compared to a lot of the rest. Though I don't get the carnival hype. I think that's a close
Yeah,
second for me as well.
agreed. That one's ridiculous.
um, and truthfully, in Kanye's discography, that's the only album I would go so far to say is I didn't enjoy. I think
Mhm.
the rest of these I enjoy all of them. Um, but next for me, just second to last place, I will say is Ye. His short, I think it's technically an EP. I would even say it's like 7 songs.
Yeah.
2018. It's pretty short, but I really do enjoy this project quite a bit. For me, I think my favorite track is Yikes. I really enjoy the production and his vocals on that, and I think the chorus is pretty catchy. Um, Least favorite, I would probably say I thought about Killing You just because it's like, I don't know, shock factor isn't really for me. It's kind of like, what the heck? Um, I do get its place in the track listing, but just for me, it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, we'll go next. For me, is Jesus is King. There's a lot on this album that I relate to on like a personal level. Like when Kanye dropped this, I was going through kind of some similar spiritual feelings that he was. So like I enjoy that quite a bit. Um, I think my favorite track is God Is. I
Mm.
think it's very inspiring. It's cool to hear Kanye do something a little more vocal, a little more gospel. Um, my least favorite track on here is Closed on Sunday, just because it's so corny. It's like the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, that's kind of funny, but it's super corny. It
Yeah.
gets annoying pretty quick. But I do enjoy hearing him do something unapologetically different than what's expected of him for someone that was coming off of his biggest song right before this being Freaky Girl with Lil Pump. It's pretty cool to hear him just unapologetically go 180 on this album and
Yeah.
not like care about any criticisms. Um, Next up for me, Watch the Throne. I think there's a lot of good stuff on here. The bangers are for sure bangers, but when it misses, I feel like it's pretty. I don't know. It's kind of boring when it's not a banger.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite track on here, honestly, is probably No Church in the Wild with Frank Ocean. I think that intro is just crazy. I think both of their verses are fantastic, but there's quite a few that I would put up there as my favorites. Honestly,
Mhm.
I didn't really pick a least favorite one on this one. They're all like, I don't think there's any to me that really stand out as trash, but there's
Yeah.
not like any, there's only a few that are like top tier to me, and then the rest are kind of like, okay.
Right.
Um, so let's go into my next pick, which is Yeezus. I I don't know how I feel about this album. Every time I listen through it, I go a different direction with what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Um, because I do get that, like at the time this came out in the mainstream, it was original, but a lot of other artists have been doing kind of music like this. A lot of it's inspired by his proteges, like Travis Scott, who had a big hand in the production. But even still, like I do enjoy going through and listening to it. Um, I'm gonna make a lot of people upset with my least favorite track on it. I really don't like Bound 2 very much, which is a lot of
Mhm.
people's favorite track. I do enjoy it as a Kanye song. It feels really out of place on this album, and I don't enjoy how it sounds in the listening experience through Yeezus.
Fair.
And my personal favorite is Black Skinhead. I think it's just fantastic. The drums are incredible. He sounds hungry and energetic, even if the bars are extremely corny on it. Um, Anyways, up next, we've got Kids See Ghosts. I know this wasn't a project that you really enjoyed all that much. Um, but I really enjoy it. I think its biggest weakness is how short it is. It also lacks a little bit of structure here and there on some of the songs. Um, my personal favorite on here is probably Fourth Dimension. I think the energy from both Kanye and Kid Cudi is great. Um, I would say Fire might be my least favorite just because it's like the least memorable to me. A lot of the other ones stick out in a lot of obvious ways, and that one isn't quite um, as attention grabbing to me. And then let's go up to my next one here, which is Late Registration, a classic, one of people's favorites from Kanye. Some people even put it as his best. To me, it's just a little bit too long and too repetitive in terms of style from as what College Dropout is.
Mm.
There's some memorable tracks, some tracks I enjoy quite a bit. Diamonds from Sierra Leone with Jay-Z's fantastic. Heard Him Say is fantastic. I think my favorite though is Touch the Sky. And this was another one that I didn't really pick a least favorite because again, I don't feel like there's any tracks that stand out as garbage on here, but
Yeah.
just there's tracks that are less memorable than the hits to me. And so yeah. Anyways, Touch the Sky is my favorite on there. I think Lupe Fiasco is the highlight of it. His verse is just fantastic. He has so much energy and sounds great. Um, let's see. Are we up to sixth? Sixth favorite album from him. You'll probably be surprised by this one, but it is Donda for me. I
Mm.
think this one is quite enjoyable. I think stylistically it blends a lot of unique avenues from Kanye, and it's kind of the reason that Vultures feels so bad by comparison to me because it feels like a less well done version of some of the good stuff on Donda.
Yeah.
There's a lot of forgettable tracks on here for sure, but I think the parts of the album that are memorable are extremely memorable. I think they sound really good. It's hard for me to go through and just pick a favorite off of here because I do like a lot of them so much.
Yeah.
Um, I will say probably Off the Grid. It's kind of a basic pick. It's a lot of people's favorite, but I think it's fantastic. And as far as least favorite on here, if I'm ignoring like the part twos, maybe like I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to pick on this one. I Junior kind of feels a little out of place. Maybe I'll say that one. I don't really hate that one, but I don't think it's memorable compared to the rest of it. It kind of feels a little out of place.
Yeah.
But we'll go up to my top five here. Fifth place, very revolutionary. Has a few misses on it for sure, but it's 808s and Heartbreak. I think what it did for the genre is incredible. I think what it is stylistically in terms of the auto tuning and the production style has really influenced a ton of modern hip hop that we hear, and I think it's really cool for that.
Mm.
Um, my favorite track on here is Amazing with Young Jeezy. I think it's really catchy. I think Jeezy sounds very charismatic on it. They both blend their kind of hungry auto tune vocals really well together on that one. Um, RoboCop to me is kind of a boring one on here. Is Say You Will, but again, like I don't think it like these are trash songs on this album. I think the album as a whole is better than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah.
So we'll go up to fourth now. My fourth favorite Kanye album is The College Dropout, his first. I think it's really well done, top to bottom. The soul samples, the skits, the message, like the messaging going through is super super good. There's so many tracks that I could pick as my favorite, whether it's All Falls Down, We Don't Care, Jesus Walks, Spaceship. Um, but Mm, I'll probably say Jesus Walks today because I think that
today.
one, yeah, it changes so much. Like honestly, from this album, like I've been really enjoying We Don't Care lately, but I do think Jesus Walks overall is probably the best song on here. I think his writing on it's really good, which isn't necessarily what I think his strongest suit is. The production's cool, the messaging is cool. Um, I've seen a really cool interview where he talks about um, when he was making Jesus is King, going back to the mindset of this song,
Nice.
which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Least favorite track. Mm, I really where did it go? Then is it the I can't remember which one's the skit and which one's the full version. The new workout plan or whatever the workout plan song.
Yeah.
It I don't know. It's just I enjoy the instrumental quite a bit on it, but like his voice and his like the stylistic completion of the song just isn't my favorite on there. Um, anyways, top three here. Number three, a lot of people's favorite album in hip hop ever. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think the features on here are fantastic. The production is fantastic. Uh, the vision for the album in terms of like what it's acting as this backhanded apology to Hollywood after the whole Taylor Swift thing is like really interesting to get into. I will say my favorite track for sure is probably Runaway
Mm.
with Pusha T. I think the production's great. The singing's great. The storytelling is really well done, which again, I don't think is necessarily Kanye's strongest suit. Um, least favorite track. Again, it's hard to pick on this one. There's so many good ones. Honestly, probably the title track. I don't love the title track as much as I love the rest of them, though I do think it's better than a lot of his other songs in his catalog.
Yeah.
um, but we'll go up to my top two now. Number two is The Life of Pablo. I think The Life of Pablo is a really well executed album. It has some of Kanye's best moments. It was kind of this moment in it feels like a pivot in his career a little bit, just with the presentation of the album with the hidden features and everything.
Mhm.
How he really almost takes a back seat on his own album and lets just the body of work be the draw factor to the
Yeah.
album. It's not so much like College Dropout where it's like, hey, this Kanye West guy who's making these beats can actually rap pretty well and sounds good and is doing something original. It's like I'll take a back seat and just let the art and the project speak for itself, whether that's Chance the Rapper or remixing Panda or Kid Cudi or whomever, The Weekend, uh, Kendrick Lamar, whoever you want to name. Um, he kind of lets them stand out. Favorite track here, honestly, like I hate to do it on Taylor Swift's weekend, but it is famous, and it's not because of like I just think the song sounds fantastic. I think the drums are fantastic. I think Rihanna sounds fantastic. It's just a really well executed song. It gets me really energized when I hear it. Um, though 30 hours for me is another really close one. And again, with this one, this is similar to Donda for me in that I feel like there's a lot of kind of song, like it's a little bloated. It could have been a little shorter and I would have been a little more pleased and it probably would be closer to my number one here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of hard to pick like a least favorite, maybe Frank's track or like, I don't know. I love Kanye just because it's like short and goofy. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I could go through a couple and kind of pick them out. But my favorite album, his most commercially successful album, is Graduation. Um, this was for sure one of the albums that drew me to hip hop as a genre when I was younger and got me interested in it. I think top to bottom, musically, I think every song sounds fantastic. I do
Yeah.
think it's very close to perfect. I will say my least favorite track, messaging wise, is Drunken Hot Girls. It's a little cringy for sure, 100%. Not gonna deny that.
Yeah.
But musically, I don't think it sounds sonically bad. Like in your ears, just the sound and not the lyrics. I don't think it sounds that bad. Um, Favorite song is a toss up. I hate to be basic and say Stronger just because that's like one of my very most classic throwback hip hop songs.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll say Flashing Lights is probably what I think the best overall song on here is.
That's fair.
I think it's really well written, really well performed. He sounds great on it, but overall I love the production on Graduation. I love how it wraps up the College Dropout trilogy. I just think overall it's a fantastic body of work.
Yeah. I like it. We're gonna have a couple similarities and we're gonna have a lot of differences because
Good, good.
yeah, I have a very different top three. Very different. So let's get into it. And just so you know, if anybody knows me as a person and where I'm at in my music journey, listening journey, they should know that I in the last year have just started really getting into listening to an album all the way through in the last 2 years or so, something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to a lot of these albums all the way through. I started listening to Kanye's full album when Jesus is King dropped. So before this whole episode, I've only heard three albums all the way through being Jesus is King, Donda, and Vultures. So
Not a
uh,
great 3 album run to start on.
yeah, yeah, pretty bad, pretty bad. I've
you
heard,
could you could start at any other 3 album point in Kanye's discography and probably would enjoy it a lot more. Not to
probably,
say I rank all of them, I 2 of those 3 fairly high,
yeah,
but still,
yeah. So that's where I'm at.
yeah,
Where I'm at enjoyable wise, like for these albums, that's probably why it's going to be a lot different. I didn't grow up with Kanye like everybody else did. So within the last year, it was my first time listening to Graduation. So let's chill out on my name. So at the very bottom, we do have Vultures. It's just absolutely garbage. I
mm-hmm.
told two of my siblings that it's probably one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life. And they said it was blasphemy. So they like it. Anyways,
Yeah,
um, there were a couple tracks that were cool, like production wise, but other than that, there's not very many saving factors. There's a couple tracks where Ty sounds real good. But just overall as a project, especially listening through all of his stuff, this is just terrible. Uh,
yeah,
I'm gonna say Carnival is the worst song because it's ridiculous. I don't care that it's trendy. It's a stupid song and I hate it.
yeah.
Um, I don't really have a favorite um at all. I like Freddie Gibbs. I'll say Back to Me, but mainly just for Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah, and
Um,
Ty Dolla sounds great on that one
yeah,
too. It's just Kanye that kind of
yeah,
ruins
Kanye
it.
is yeah. So
Yeah.
So that's my last one. After that, this is the second one that I said was booty cheek garbage. And we had this little discussion before, but it is Kids See Ghosts. I the only problem that or one of the problems that I had with it was it was too long. Contrary to it was too short.
Only 7 songs long.
It should have been one. Um, no, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It's just it's not my style.
Yeah.
Listening through, I get that it's a collab album, but listening through, there's just so many projects that I've preferred over this one. Um, it just didn't really do anything for me. I do agree though, Fourth Dimension is I think the best song. And I actually found that song on accident like a couple years back. I accidentally like pushed shuffle and it threw in a couple random songs and Fourth Dimension was one. And I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck is this? This is dope.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Once again, I don't really have a least favorite track. There's some of these where I wasn't able to figure out a worst or I think I have a
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
for each. But anyways, next we got Jesus is King. Not even saying it's like a bad album or anything like that. There are definitely a lot of lines in this album I feel are corny. But kind of like where you were at, I was kind of in the same little realm. Figuring out spirituality and where I was at with that. So hearing that come from somebody with such a huge platform, I don't really hear that unless it's a Christian artist. So like to hear Kanye West do something like that, I was like pretty taken back. Um it was cool. It just wasn't my, favorite. Like every once in a while, if a song comes on, like I'll listen to it, but for a majority of the
Yeah.
time, I'm not really listening. I do agree. Worst is closed on Sunday just because it's cheesy. Um, Sometimes I'll get a good laugh at it because it'll just start and I'll just kind of giggle to myself. Um,
Yeah. And it didn't age well message wise. Like
um,
post Kim Kardashian. Not a great track.
no.
Anyways, back to
Um,
you.
my my favorite song is "Follow God." Um, I think it's "Follow God." It might be hands on. I could do either or.
Life like this is what your life like. Try to live your life right. That one?
Is that one follow God?
Mm-hmm.
Then no, not that one. Hands on or use this gospel. That's it.
Oh yeah, use this gospel's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I could go either way. I think they're both great tracks. I like the feature on use this gospel a lot.
I
He's the
believe
one
it's
that
Freddie Gibbs, isn't it?
is it? Clips and somebody else. Here, let's find out right now.
Oh no, wait, no, no, it's not Freddie Gibbs. Might be
Oh, who is it? It's
Kenny
Kenny
G.
Kenny G. Clips and Kenny
Yeah,
G. Um, yeah, isn't that the one where they shout out Vegas?
I couldn't tell you to be honest. I don't remember that.
I'm gonna one of them shouts out Vegas. Not really shouts out, but like they just anyway, it's really not important.
Yeah,
Um so we move on.
yeah,
Um Next after Jesus is King, I have Yay. Um I just didn't really care at all. Um like I think the only really good song is All Mine. Um
really,
yeah, I actually really it's it's the beginning of the song that gets me every time. I'm not usually about that kind of stuff, but it's just so it just kind of reels me in and
yeah,
I get this feel good vibe. I
right.
do like the production. Some of the lines in there are funny. Yeah, I really liked All Mine. I didn't have a worse for this one. Um, but it's a forgettable album to me. Um,
Yeah, for
Honestly,
sure.
I didn't know if we were gonna do underrated at all, so I did write like a couple underrated, but I wouldn't know any other songs if like I only know these two because they're written down. I couldn't name you another song off of that album. So for that reason, it's pretty low.
Yeah,
Um, as we move on, this one was cool for what it did to the industry. And I'm not saying it's, a terrible album or nothing, but next I got 808s. So it's pretty low on the list for me. There's a couple that I found other than Sorry, I didn't write everything down, so I'm kind of
Yeah,
going
no,
back
you're
and
good.
forth.
Besides
Yes,
Heartless.
thank you. Besides Heartless, there were a couple. I did like Paranoid quite a bit. I do
Yeah,
agree about RoboCop. It's just kind of like whatever.
yeah.
My brother got very mad when I said that to him. He said that that's one of his favorite tracks, and I had to stop talking to him for a little bit, let him cool down.
Yeah,
But like I said, I think the production was cool. I think the use of auto tune and just the style of which he produced this album, I thought it was super cool, super unique, and yeah, I just, it's got to go on the list somewhere, and I liked other ones better. So, next we have Watch the Throne. Sorry, there's a bug. And um, I was nervous about putting it this low because I don't know how people feel about that album, to be honest, but I mean, it was cool,
yeah,
I guess, for the most part. Like, it's cool that him and Jay-Z pop off on a couple tracks, but
yeah. It's
Jay-Z
like
and
it's neither of their best works.
yeah,
Not really even close.
and people might get on me for saying this, but Jay-Z annoys me, dude. I can only listen to so much. His voice just like annoys me. Not even
No,
I'm not
you're canceled for that. I won't
No,
stand for that.
no, you don't get it. You're
I
not
won't
hearing me
accept that.
correctly. You're not hearing me correctly. I'm not saying his music's bad and I'm not saying he's trash or nothing like that. It's just his voice. His voice be pissing me off sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, can you shut up for a sec? Like, can we not? So hearing an entire album, I'm just like, okay, let's take a break. So
That's slander. I won't accept that take, but you do you
oh,
and go ahead.
is it really a podcast if there's not good controversy?
Yeah, that's a little outrageous, but I mean,
No, it's just his
to
voice.
each their own,
I
I
think
suppose.
I think he's a great artist. I think he's a phenomenal rapper. I just don't like his voice for that long.
Hmm. Yeah,
Anyways, moving on. My favorite one is um People in Paris. Um it's a classic.
yeah,
Simple as that.
yep.
Um my least favorite was The Joy. Um it, I guess it just didn't do it for me. I don't even remember the song, but if it says it's the worst, then it's got to be. I did also really like Otis. I didn't want to just do, that song.
Most popular. Yeah,
Yeah, like it is, but yeah, Otis was really, really good. I enjoyed that one a lot. Um, moving on. After that, I got Donda. I know when it first came out, I gave it a lot of slander and I said it was trash and this and that. It's really not that bad of an album. Do I think it's his best? No, but I mean, the production is great. The features are solid. Like there's a couple areas in a couple different songs where him singing and his vocals are not bad. They're not great, but like they're good for what I expect from Kanye. It felt like a good album after we revisited it. So I don't really have a problem with Donda. I can't tell you many songs. I do really like Jail Part 1 and Hurricane. Um what's the one with what's his face? Don Tolliver. What's that one?
Moon.
Bro, it's still one of the greatest features I've ever heard.
That's fantastic.
It just
If
caught
if you
me
go
by
through
surprise.
if you go through the deluxe, I don't think we did last time, but he's got a track with Andre 3000 on there called Life of the Party.
Oh, really?
Super, super good. One of my
Oh,
favorite Andre 3000 verses.
shoot. I'll have to go back and listen to that because I did
Yeah.
not know that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was for those who hated it, I feel like they judged a little too early. I feel like because of the time period and everything going on, like, oh, Drake and Kanye are like having beef. Oh, and then yeah, it just all felt out of
Yeah.
place. So
Hmm.
now listening to it, I can actually enjoy it as just a project, and I think it was
Yeah.
really good. Next on the list, I have Yeezus. It was a cool album.
Pretty high.
Yeah, I don't remember much of it. I'm not, dude, my brain is so fried from this much Kanye. And yes, I did it to myself. No, I'm not asking for your sympathy, but it's still a lot of Kanye nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, I really enjoyed I'm in it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the worst one. My fault. Rewind. I said that's the worst one. I think the best one is Black Skinhead. When that song came on, I forgot about the song in general, and I was like, "Holy crap, this song's
It's just
incredible."
it's just the intro that gets me. That
Dude, yeah,
So,
no.
what the
Yeah, no, that song's nuts. Um, yeah, very good song. I will also say that I Am a God, I think is underrated.
Yeah, that song's
That's
super good.
yeah, solid song. Um, I wish I had more to say about these and I was able to remember the things off the top of my head, but I'm not you. So I can't do that. I'm doing the best I can, guys. um After Yeezus, I put Life of Pablo. Um it was cool. Um and I only know the concept because you explained it to me a while back.
Yeah.
So because I know of the concept, it's super cool in that category. But if you wouldn't have told me that, I never would have realized that,
Yeah.
nor cared to realize that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it was a good album. I liked the features on it. I think the best one is No More Parties in LA with Kendrick. That's that song's
Super
ridiculous.
good song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I forget that like artists be collabing with each other sometimes. So I kind of forgot that Kendrick and Kanye did this, which
Yeah.
which is always a nice little surprise, you
Dude,
know?
to not to cut you off,
No,
but
you're
like
good.
when this album came out, 2016, I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And like I was on the bus. I don't know if you like remember this album release at all or anything, but typical Kanye fashion doesn't release it on time, right?
Mm, right.
And I'm like, at this point, I know Kanye from like Stronger, All of the Lights,
Yeah.
Gold Digger, like just the hits.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, cool, this Kanye guy's dropping an album, whatever. And he like finally the album gets ready to come out, and he's like, "Yo, I'm releasing it only on this streaming platform called Tidal, like
Mm,
not on Apple, not on Spotify. You can't download it on iTunes or whatever."
yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't really care to pay an extra $20 to listen to this Kanye album."
Right.
So I'm just sitting on the bus with my friend, and he's like, "Yo, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna download Tidal and listen to it." And I was like, "Okay." And we're on this road trip in this bus, and like 2 hours into it, he like takes his headphones out, and I'm like, "How was it?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't know. It might be fantastic, and I just don't think I understood how to appreciate it." And I was like, "Okay, weird thing to say, right?" But like this late in my life, I'm like, he was kind of onto something. Like young me, I did not like pick up or appreciate so much of this, like the Kendrick feature,
Yeah.
the Metro production, Chance the Rapper's feature, Post Malone. Like, there's just so much that I go back through now, and I'm like, holy crap, this album is beautiful. And
Yeah.
like, yeah. Anyways, just a funny story to go
Yeah.
along with the album.
Saying that, realizing that at 16 is nuts. Like, I don't think I
Yeah.
appreciate this truly yet. Yeah, so like I said, I think that the best song is definitely No More Parties in LA. Um and then I think that the worst one was Saint Pablo. Once again, don't remember why. I probably just didn't really enjoy it and thought it was I don't know, but I had enough of it. So I put that as the worst.
Fair enough.
We are in my top five. That Life of Pablo is at number five. At number four, people might hate on me for this number four, but this is I'll say what it is. It's Graduation. The reason why is because I feel like the time that it came out, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible! Like this is peak music, this and that." Right? The way I view it is, I listened to it late. I listened to it where I've heard a lot of great production. I've heard probably some better than Graduation. I've heard a lot more enjoyable tracks. It's like when I first watched Avatar, right? I watched it probably like 9 years after it actually came out. And then I was just like, okay, like this is cool. But when it first came out, everyone was tripping about the CGI. And I was just like, okay, well, this is normal. So that's why it's a little bit lower than the others. But nonetheless, I do think it is a phenomenal album. Um, Obviously there's the classics such as Stronger, Good Life, Flashing Lights. I think just to switch up the best, because you've brought up both Stronger and Flashing Lights, I'm gonna say Good Life. It's a feel good song. I love the production on it. T-Pain as a feature is solid. It's all around a great song. Couldn't really tell you a worse song just because I didn't write any down, but it is what it is. Um, Now we go into top three. At number three, I have Late Registration. Um, it was a cool album, all the way around. I know what you mean when you say it's kind of very similar to College Dropout. I believe that's what you said.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like I said, it's cool. I really liked Touch the Sky with Lupe Fiasco. Obviously Gold Digger is a classic, super well known. Jamie Foxx kills it. So yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Once again, don't really have a worst song. I think these are the I think I only have one more where I didn't choose a worst song. Yeah. Um Anyways, moving on. My number two is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Um I thought it was cool. I don't know why I was nervous about this one. Maybe it was because of my brother. He was hyping it up quite a bit. So I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
mean,
"Oh
when
no."
people talk like modern hip hop era, it's like To Pimp a Butterfly, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy are like
Yeah.
their two standards.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So I don't know, I was just kind of
So
nervous. I've
yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, like I've heard a couple songs here and there. Like you've showed me a couple. Obviously, like I know Power. So I was just a little nervous. But it's a great album all the way around. Some of the best production I think comes from this album, or at least one, like out of a couple, this is definitely one where it has some of the best. I think the best track, I don't even think it's Power. Like obviously that's the most well-known one. But me personally, I think Monster is the best one. I it's it's such a fun song, and I think everybody on that song just kills it. I think Nicki Minaj might be my favorite feature on that song. I just didn't expect her to go nuts like that. But nonetheless, it was incredible. I also really like So Appalled. I thought that was a really good song. Um, but yeah, so that's my number two. My favorite album was College Dropout. I was telling you that when I first started this journey of Kanye's discography. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why is this such a good album already? I don't even remember how far I got into it. Let's look. I think once I hit Jesus Walks, I was like, dude, what is this? This is great. I think Jesus Walks is my favorite song. I also liked All Falls Down and Get 'em High. I thought those were great. Um, did I write down anything for this one? I don't think I did. What did I write down for? Oh, for Dark Twisted Fantasy, whatever that one's. I thought the worst one was Heck of a Life. Anyways. Um, back to the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have like a worse for this one either. Um, but I was very happy. It always makes me happy when an artist's first album is that good. And I mean, like, I don't know how many people agree with me because I don't care. But yeah, it's incredible all the way around. I love the production, knowing that it's his first, coming out very strong. I mean, like the lyrics are solid for Kanye West. The production is top notch. Um, and just going through like his entirety, like it does make me feel solid now saying that he's the best producer. Yes, that's it. That
Yeah.
he's the best producer. I do like other producers, but I think just because of how much he changed the game, um, I don't think even in albums like Vultures, I mean, I didn't think Kids See Ghost was great, but I like in these albums, it's not like production just went down the drain and like was absolutely
Yeah.
garbage. They were the redeeming qualities in these albums that at least I thought weren't special nor good. Um, but so to see somebody thrive for as long as Kanye has in at least one section of creation, I'm glad to see that he's at least still got that.
Yeah. And let's hope that he either gets his life together and stops being psychotic and
Yeah.
make good music, or that he retires and preserves a mostly mostly well-rounded discography
Yeah,
at this
me,
point.
me, you, and everyone else that is living and has ever heard that man say a word knows that will never happen.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
did
I
you
agree.
hear? Since we're on the topic of Kanye, have you heard his input on the beef?
Yeah, I heard his remix of like that, and I've heard him in some interviews talk about Drake and Cole and that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, like, there's a lot that you can dive into. I think his remix was pretty garbage, to be honest. It kind of sounded um like the best part of Carnival was the remix of the soccer fans' vocals
Uh-huh.
on the beat. Uh, and then like there's the standard beat just kind of behind it. And his Like That remix just literally took everything that was great about Like That, removed all of the great parts of the song, added a very half-hearted, unimpressive, unwitty verse, and then just threw some like deep distortion over the bass for
Yeah.
like 2 minutes. And I thought that was pretty lazy. I him and Drake and their thing is really whatever. And I could kind of care less what their beef is with each other. They're both kind of a little bit of drama queens, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I chalk that up to. As far as between him and J. Cole, to be frank, I kind of understand why Kanye would not like J. Cole or would not listen to much of his music, because J. Cole kind of took some random, unnecessary, stray shots at Kanye when J. Cole's whole thing's like, I'm positive and I don't need to go at anybody's throat unless they come at me.
Yeah.
And like Kanye's never done anything to Cole. So like just because of how weird that J. Cole song is, I kind of understand why Kanye wouldn't vibe with him all that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kanye's crazy. Virtually everything he says is crazy, and the
Yeah.
song was really bad. It took
Yeah.
everything that was good about Like That and removed it.
Yeah. I wanted to hear your thoughts because we hadn't
Yeah.
talked about that. I do agree. I think
Yeah.
it's garbage. And I mean, he only said the two lines that was actually like shots in my opinion. I thought everything else was
Yeah.
just like whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, Kanye will be
Yeah.
Kanye.
I was a little disappointed just because when I saw that him and Metro had like met up, I
Hmm.
was like, oh, that would be cool. Like they're two of my favorite producers in terms of their style. maybe they'll come up with something cool together in the midst of all this craziness. And it was really garbage. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all that I have to say about that.
Fair. Well, we have we have done it. We dove into Kanye's discography and came out better than Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's the good news of
Yeah,
all of this, I
that's
suppose.
that's the takeaway I've gotten
Yeah.
is
To
that
be fair, I'll probably end up like skimming through the new Taylor album at some point just because I like to be up with what's popular, not necessarily for any reason other than just to be in the loop on what's going on.
yeah, that's fair.
Uh, but it's gonna be a while. I'm not gonna like force myself to listen to
Yeah,
something I really don't want
like
to.
if somehow we decide we need a Taylor episode, that's probably when I'll listen to it. So probably not
Yeah,
for some time. And
yeah,
I don't think I've been happier
yeah.
knowing that fact.
Yeah, and we'll see what comes next week. It's been a while since we did movies. Maybe we'll look into some movies or something, or
Yeah,
we'll see where things take us.
I like it.
Well, college dropout, graduation, favorite Kanye albums, Vultures is the worst. Uh,
Couldn't agree more.
good night, everybody. That's all. That's it.
Goodbye.